Do these fall maintenance tasks now and you protect your property, your rent, and your legal footing all winter long. In the next few minutes, I'll show you three things. The heat rule that can cancel your right to collect rent, the smoke and carbon monoxide rule that trip up landlords the second the furnace kicks on, and third, the waterproofing step that stops a small leak from becoming a mold claim. I'm Chrissy Wade, broker and owner of Weatherproofing Property Management. For over 10 years, we've managed hundreds of units across the state of California, from Stockton to Ridgecrest. We got you covered. And we know property management inside and out. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear fall checklist. You'll know which items are actually the law and which just save you money. And you'll know how to prove that you did them. So first, let's start with the one that carries the most legal weight, because heat is not a comfort item here in California. It's a habitability requirement. Working heat is written into the implied warranty of habitability, and that sits inside every residential lease in this state, whether you put it in there or not. The standard your heater has to meet is this. It has to be a permanent equipment capable of warming the habitable rooms to at least 68 degrees. A couple of cities have set that to 70, but 68 is the general number for most of California, and that includes Ridgecrest and Stockton. And notice the word permanent. Handing a tenant a space heater does not satisfy your obligation. The heater that came with the unit is the one that has to work. So the fall task is simple. Service the furnace before the first cold night, not after it. Change the filter, confirm it actually reaches temperature, and if it's an older unit, have it looked at now while the technician is scheduling visits, not an emergency. Because if that heater fails in December and the unit drops below the code, you are not late on a repair, you are technically out of compliance with the habitability law. And there's one small thing on the very next step that trips up even careful landlords. So stay with me for that. Fall is detector season for a reason. The moment the furnace starts running is exactly when carbon monoxide risk climbs. So this is the time to test every device in the unit. The law here is very specific. Smoke alarms need to go in each bedroom, outside of each sleeping area, and on each level of every home, including a basement if you have one. Carbon monoxide detectors are required in any unit with a gas or fossil fuel appliance, a fireplace, or an attached garage. Gas furnace, gas range, or a gas garage, or a garage that connects to the living room, you need a CO detection as well. Now, the part that trips people up is the landlord. You're responsible for those devices being present and working at the start of the tenancy, and for fixing them when the tenant tells you in writing that something is broken. Where landlords get caught is assuming a detector from a few years back is still fine. A lot of California units now run sealed 10-year batteries, and those units are going to expire. A dead or expired detector is technically a failed inspection waiting to happen, and it is the cheapest thing of this entire list to fix. And hold on to that idea, because the cheapest item on this list is the one that prevents the single most expensive winter claim. Test them, replace what is old, and write down the date you did it. Next, waterproofing. And this one is split by market. California law requires waterproofing and weather protection of the roof and exterior walls, including unbroken windows and doors. So in our Stockton market, that means getting ahead of the valley rain and fog, checking the roof line and the gutters and the seals around the windows before water has a way in. In our Ridgecrest market, you get less rain, so the risk shifts to cold, and I'll come back to that one in a second. Here's why weatherproofing matters beyond the water itself. A small ignored leak becomes mold, and in California, visible mold and water-stained ceilings get the same treatment as habitability violations, the same category as no heat. A fall afternoon with a caulking gun is a whole lot cheaper than a mold remediation bill and a tenant complaint in court. So that cold risk I mentioned is mostly about plumbing. Plumbing kept in good working order is also a habitability standard, and the fall version of that in places like Ridgecrest is freeze protection. High desert nights get cold enough to freeze an unprotected outdoor pipe or a hose bib, and a frozen pipe becomes a burst pipe in a matter of seconds, and that can happen inside the wall. Wrap or cover all exterior faucets and any exposed piping. Disconnect the hoses and know where the main water shutoff is, so a small failure never becomes a flood. And there's one thing that decides whether all of this work actually protects you, and it's not on the furnace or the roof. I'll get to that in a second. A few faster ones to round out the walkthrough. Clean the gutters so the water drains away from the foundation. Check the water heater that it works and that it's strapped and secured. Trim back anything that could come down on the roof or the power line in a winter storm. Test the deadbolts and the window locks, which are on the habitability list as well. None of these take long. All of them are cheaper in October rather than January. And if you're sitting there adding up the furnace service, the detectors, the roof check, and the hours it takes to do this right across 1 or 2 units, that math might be the calculation that most landlords never actually run. So I built a free self-managing cost calculator, and it puts real numbers on what self-managing may be costing you. And that includes time and money. So you can see instead of just guessing. The link is going to be below in the description. If you're already a Wellspring Property Management client, we do these things periodically for you as well. So here's the thing that I promise. Doing the work is only half of it. In California, the landlord who can prove they maintained the unit wins the habitability fight. And the landlord who did the work and can't prove it can still lose. So document everything. Dated photos of the furnace running and the roof line. The service receipt from the technician. The date you tested and swapped the detectors out. Ideally acknowledged by the tenant in writing. That paper trail is not busy work. It's the difference between a complaint you shrug off with a folder of proof and one that turns into lost rent because it's your word against theirs. Now, the inspection protects the property. The documentation protects you. Let me put a number on it. A furnace tune-up in the fall runs you somewhere around $100 to $200. Let that same furnace fail on a cold night in January, and now you're paying emergency rates, often several $100s just to get someone out if you can get a hold of them. And while the unit sits below code, you may owe the tenant a rent deduction for every day it stays that way. On a $2,000 a month unit, even a 2-week stretch without heat can mean hundreds of dollars back to the tenant on top of the repair bill. The tune-up was the cheaper number. It almost always is the cheaper number. That's the item I told you to hold on to. The cheapest thing on the list done in the fall is what prevents the most expensive thing that can happen in the winter. So here's your fall checklist, start to finish. Service the heat because that's the one that can cancel your right to collect rent. Test and replace the smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detectors, the cheapest fix on the list. Weatherproof the roof and walls before the wet season so a leak never becomes a mold issue. Protect the plumbing from freezing, especially out in Ridgecrest. Handle the quick items quickly, the gutters, the water heater, and the locks. And document all of it because the paper trail is what actually protects you when it counts. Do this in the fall. In winter, hopefully we'll stay quiet. Now before you go, here's the thing most California landlords don't realize about all of this. Maintenance. The real cost of self-managing isn't any single repair. It's the time, the tracking, the risk of missing one item that turns into a claim. So run the numbers honestly. My free self-managing cost calculator is going to be in the link below, and that will show you exactly what managing your own property is costing you, your time and your money, all of it. So you can decide with real information instead of a guess. Grab it at the link below, and if you're already Wellspring Property Management, just rest assured we're handling this for you. So if you'd rather hand off the whole thing to a property manager, because this is a whole lot to think about, you can reach us at wellspringpm.com or call the office at 760-371-4282, extension 101. That's going to come straight to me. I'm Chrissy Wade with Wellspring Property Management. Have a great week. I'll see you in the next video.